You know, if you ask someone to just imagine a dog running across a park to catch a frisbee, most of us picture exactly that in our minds.
Right. Yeah, like a vivid movie.
Exactly. We paint this vivid, high-definition movie. You've got the green grass, the blue sky, the fur, the movement. And for a long time, we just kind of assumed that if we wanted to build an artificial intelligence that could navigate the physical world, it had to do the exact same thing.
Right, that it had to constantly render and process these massive, pixel-perfect recreations of reality,
Yeah.
which is, frankly, an incredibly expensive assumption. We've basically been treating AI like a hyper-realistic painter.
Forcing it to obsess over every single blade of grass.
Exactly. Or, the lighting reflections on a car's windshield, just to figure out how to walk across the street. It is a massive drain on computational power to reconstruct all that visual noise that has absolutely no bearing on the actual task.
Well, welcome to the deep dive. Because today, for you listening, we're taking all that massive compute power we waste on rendering reality and just tossing it right out the window.
Yeah, we really are.
We are looking at a completely different paradigm today. A framework called Joint-Embedding Predictive Architectures, or JEPAs. And we're going to explore two truly groundbreaking models from our source material, CrossJEPA and JEPA-WM.
And the core mission here is understanding how AI is learning to, stop looking at pixels and start looking at pure mathematical meaning.
Yeah, and for you, the listener, if you want to understand the future of robotics or autonomous driving or just putting lightweight AI on actual physical edge devices, you really need to understand this.
You do, because this is the underlying architecture making it happen. And the philosophy uniting these models is called predictive coding.
Right.
Instead of predicting raw sensory data, which is unpredictable and computationally exhausting, these models learn to predict abstract mathematical summaries of reality. We call these summaries embeddings.
It's moving from trying to draw the world to simply understanding the underlying structure of it.
Precise.
So let's ground this. Let's look at how a machine learns to understand a static room first. Because in the source material, there's this massive headache in 3D representation learning. Good 3D data, like the point clouds generated by lasers or depth cameras, it's notoriously scarce.
And messy. Very messy.
Right. If you scan a room, you get incomplete shapes, missing surfaces, just a lot of noise. And traditional AI models try to fix this by using heavy, complex decoders to rebuild those missing 3D points from scratch.
Or they use cross-modal masking, which just, devours processing power.
Exactly. But CrossJEPA, which stands for Cross-Modal 3D Learning via Latent View Prediction, it completely bypasses all of that heavy lifting.
It does. It relies on a really clever teacher-student dynamic.
Yeah.
So the architecture starts with the input, right? We have a 3D point encoder acting as the student.
Okay.
It ingests that messy, raw 3D point cloud of an object, say a scan of a chair. And instead of trying to memorize every single coordinate, it compresses it into a core semantic footprint, an abstract mathematical summary of the chair's 3D geometry.
So the student has this dense little geometric thought. But for the student to learn if its thought is actually accurate, it needs a ground truth, right? Like an answer key to grade itself against.
Exactly.
Is that where the 2D image comes in?
That's exactly how it works. The system brings in a foundation model, something highly advanced, like DenoV2, to act as the teacher. But this teacher only understands 2D images, not 3D point clouds.
Which is wild.
Right. And crucially, the teacher model is completely frozen. It isn't learning or updating, it's just observing. The teacher looks at a 2D rendered image of that exact same chair and generates its own target embedding.
But it goes a step further than that, doesn't it?
It does. It stamps that embedding with specific camera coordinates.
Yeah.
So it essentially tags its abstract thought with the exact angle the chair was viewed from.
Which brings us to the engine of the whole operation, right? The predictor network. Because if understanding the math intuitively, the predictor is essentially a translator.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It takes the student's 3D footprint of the chair, but it also takes a hint.
The conditioning hint is where the magic happens. The predictor needs to guess the teacher's exact 2D thought. To do that, you feed the predictor the student's 3D summary, plus a spatial conditioning variable.
And that variable contains the exact yaw and pitch of the camera, right?
Yes, the exact angle the teacher is looking from. It also includes a color histogram, because 3D point clouds often lack color data.
Oh, right. So the predictor needs to know if it's looking at a red chair or a blue chair to accurately guess the 2D image embedding.
Exactly. So the predictor is performing a transformation matrix in latent space. It's taking a 3D concept, applying a specific camera angle and color profile to it mathematically, and outputting a prediction of what the 2D concept should look like.
And the way it learns from its mistakes is just measuring the geometric distance between its guess and the teacher's actual thought.
Yes, it uses a smooth L1 loss function to measure that exact distance. But notice what is missing from this entire process.
The pixels.
There is no pixel rendering at all. The system never asks, did you draw the chair correctly? It only asks, how close was your abstract understanding of the chair from this angle to my abstract understanding of the chair from this angle?
Okay, I have to jump in here, though, and push back on something. Because there's a contradiction in the source material that really confused me at first.
Oh.
Yeah, the architecture is explicitly called a JEPA, right? Joint-Embedding Predictive Architecture.
Yeah.
And the hallmark of almost every other JEPA out there is masking. You hide parts of the input data, like blacking out half a picture, and force the AI to guess what's behind the mask to build its predictive power.
Right, that's standard.
So where is the mask in Cross-JEPA?
So the paper actually includes a fascinating ablation study on exactly this, and it flips conventional wisdom entirely on its head.
Wait, really?
Yeah. For cross-modal learning, translating from a 3D point cloud to a 2D image view masking is actually detrimental. CrossJEPA exhibits the exact opposite behavior of conventional models. The study proves that an aggressive 0% masking ratio works best.
0%. You cannot hide any part of the 3D input.
None of it.
But why? If masking forces an AI to learn context, why does it break the model here?
Because masking cross-modal data induces massive spatial inconsistencies. The predictor is trying to map a full 3D geometry to very specific 2D sensory consequences. Think about a 3D model of a car.
Okay.
If you mask out the passenger side doors in the 3D input, the student loses the structural integrity of the object. When the predictor is then asked to guess what the 2D image of the car looks like from a right-side camera angle, it fails.
Because it physically lacks the geometric context needed to make that cross-modal leap.
Exactly. You can't guess the profile of a shape if half the shape has been artificially deleted.
That makes total sense. But, you know, as clever as the zero masking insight is, the real engineering brilliance here to me is how they manage the compute budget. Because you mentioned the 2D image teacher model is completely frozen. It's pre-trained.
Yes, and because it's frozen, running that massive teacher model on the fly during training is entirely redundant. Think about a traditional setup. Every single time the student makes a guess, you have to run the 2D image through the massive neural network of the teacher just to generate the target encoding.
Which eats up enormous processing power.
Right. So the researchers just bypassed it with amortized efficiency.
A caching hack.
Yes. They pre-compute the teacher's embeddings for 24 to 36 different views of every single object. They run the teacher once, cache all those target thoughts in an index database, and then effectively turn the teacher off during the actual training loop.
So the student is just looking up the answers in a database.
Exactly. And the impact on the compute budget is staggering. By caching the teacher's embeddings, they eliminate 2.8 trillion floating point operations, or FLOPs, per single iteration.
2.8 trillion, wow.
It allows them to scale up the batch size massively. We are talking about epoch training times dropping from 16 hours down to just 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
From 16 hours to 2 minutes. That is just absurd.
And it achieves a state-of-the-art 94.2% peak accuracy on the ModelNet 40 benchmark. It accomplishes all of this using only 14.1 million parameters.
Which is tiny.
Very tiny. To put that in perspective, competing generative architectures that try to rebuild 3D space take up to 93 hours to train and use over 200 million parameters.
Yeah.
Because decoding back to pixel space is computationally explosive.
So CrossJEPA just crushes them by keeping everything in the lightweight math of the latent space.
Exactly.
Okay, so CrossJEPA proves we can master a static 3D room. We can efficiently map complex space without rendering a single pixel. But the real world doesn't sit still.
No, it doesn't.
If a robot is reaching for a cup, the environment is constantly changing. Things move. Which brings us to the second major architecture in our sources, JEPA-WM, or Joint-Embedding Predictive World Models.
Oh.
How do we take this same latent space logic and apply it to moving through time?
Well, to appreciate the solution, we first have to understand why traditional latent world models fail at time and physical planning. Historically, they fall into two traps. The first is the generative trap. Models like Dreamer try to predict the future by generating high-definition video of what the next second will look like.
Right.
If a robot is moving its arm to grab a blue cup, a generative model wastes immense compute trying to predict the exact pixel texture of the cup, how the shadows shift on the table, and the lighting in the room.
It's focusing on the paint instead of
the physics, precisely.
Got it. And the second trap.
The second trap involves implicit or reward-driven models like mu0, These models are highly efficient at mastering specific games like chess or Go, but they fold temporal dynamics directly into a reward function.
which makes them inflexible.
Very. If you want to change the robot's goal at test time, say, asking it to grab a red block instead of the blue cup reward-driven models, struggle to imagine alternative futures without completely retraining the model. They lack counterfactual generation.
Okay, so JEPA-WM steps in as an explicit latent world model. It abstracts away all the relevant visual details to learn pure deterministic dynamics. Let's walk through how this architecture handles time, step by step.
Sure. The blueprint starts with the state encoder. It takes a past window of visual frames, essentially a short video clip of the environment.
Okay.
And it can also ingest proprioceptive data. Proprioception is just the robot's internal math of its own physical state, the exact angles of its joints, the twist of its mechanical wrist.
So the encoder crunches this entire history into a single current state embedding, a mathematical snapshot of here is exactly what is happening right now.
Exactly. Okay, so it has a snapshot of the present, but to predict the future, it needs to know what action is about to be taken.
Which is handled by the action encoder.
Right. It translates a physical motor command, like move the wrist forward 10 degrees, into the exact same abstract mathematical language. Now, we hand both of these over to the predictor engine.
So the predictor combines the current state embedding plus the action embedding and outputs a prediction of the future state embedding. It's calculating the physics of the movement purely in latent space.
Yes. And the training process uses a teacher forcing loss function. It compares its predicted future thought to the actual future thought recorded a second later and adjusts itself.
So again, no pixel reconstruction, no reward prediction.
None. It is learning the fundamental transition dynamics of reality. But the truly fascinating part is how this is applied in the real world. Test time planning. Like, how does the robot actually decide to move its arm to pick up the cup?
Right, if it doesn't have a reward function telling it what to do, how does it plan?
It uses an optimizer called the cross-entropy method, or CEM. When it's time to act, the predictor is unrolled over multiple sampled sequences. Imagine being blindfolded in a room and you know the exact mathematical coordinates of the door.
Okay, I'm imagining it.
You simulate taking a step forward, backward, left, and right in your mind. You calculate your new distance to the door for each possible step.
And you just throw out the steps that take you further away.
Exactly. The robot imagines 100 different physical paths its arm could take, all represented as abstract math. It calculates a planning cost, which is just minimizing the geometric distance between its final predicted state embedding and a target goal embedding.
Wow. So it throws out the 90 bad paths, keeps the 10 good ones, tweaks them slightly, and simulates again.
Yes, it iteratively refines its actions until it finds the optimal physical path to the cup.
And all of this complex physical planning is happening without generating a single pixel of video.
None.
It's not visualizing the arm moving. It's just solving a distance equation between abstract concepts.
Yeah.
And because the dynamics model is completely independent of a reward function, you can give it a brand new goal embedding at any time, and it just recalculates the math. It's entirely flexible.
It really is. And, you know, when you look at the mechanics of test time planning in JEPA-WM, and you look at the cross-modal view prediction in CrossJEPA, a very clear synthesis emerges from the research.
Yeah, I was just thinking that they're essentially the exact same machine. They're telling the exact same story about the future of AI.
The structural unification is absolute. The underlying architecture for both models is identical. They both rely on a universal core, the JEPA predictor engine. The sole job of this engine is to navigate a frozen, pre-computed, semantic latent space.
Right. It just learns how to move from one abstract thought to another.
Yes, it's like they've built a universal video game console, and they're just plugging in different game cartridges based on what they want the AI to understand.
Oh, I like that analogy. The cartridges are just the conditioning variables. So in CrossJEPA, researchers plug in a spatial view cartridge, the camera yaw and pitch. The engine processes the math and predicts an alternate spatial view. It navigates space.
Exactly. And for JEPA-WM, they plug in a temporal action cartridge, the robotic motor command. The engine processes the math and predicts a future temporal state. It navigates time.
That is brilliant.
It is. And by standardizing this architecture, researchers are solving one of the most critical bottlenecks in the industry, which is deploying highly capable, task-agnostic physical AI agents on resource-constrained edge devices.
Right. And when you say edge devices for our listeners, we're talking about hardware out in the real world. A robotic arm on a factory floor, an autonomous drone inspecting a bridge, a mixed reality headset.
Exactly.
Devices that cannot physically carry a supercomputer on their backs to process high-definition video of their surroundings in real time.
They just don't have the thermal capacity or the battery life for massive generative models. By abstracting away all irrelevant visual noise, the AI learns pure deterministic dynamics.
Yeah.
Cross-JEPA proves we can efficiently map complex 3D space to a highly compressed 2D latent space. JEPA-WM proves we can navigate that exact same latent space through time via physical actions.
So the end game here is cross-modal world models. AI that can take in data from heterogeneous modalities, LiDAR, cameras, tactile sensors on a robotic hand, and process all of it entirely within a unified, lightweight semantic space.
That is the ultimate research goal, yes.
It is a fundamental shift in how we build these systems. We are moving away from brute forcing reality. We are moving away from bloated, compute-heavy models that try to redraw the physical world pixel by pixel, and moving toward elegant, mathematically precise frameworks.
It's about smarter, leaner architectures that focus purely on meaning. A transition from processing noise to processing meaning.
Which is exactly why this matters to you, the listener. The future of artificial intelligence isn't just about building exponentially bigger data centers. It's about architectures that mimic deeper cognitive principles, operating efficiently regardless of the hardware constraints.
Which, actually brings up a final, somewhat provocative thought to ponder.
Oh, let's hear it.
Well, CrossJEPA and JEPA-WM prove definitively that machines can achieve a flawless spatial and temporal understanding of the physical world without ever actually picturing it.
Right. They just know the math.
They understand the structural relationship of objects perfectly without rendering the textures.
Without the internal high-definition movie.
Right. So if an AI can perfectly navigate a room or plan a highly complex robotic sequence to manipulate an object entirely through abstract mathematics without relying on pixels, what does that tell us about our own human cognition?
Oh, wow. That is wild. It makes you wonder if seeing in our mind's eye is actually a cognitive inefficiency.
Exactly.
Like when I picture that dog catching a frisbee in the park, is my biological brain wasting valuable compute power painting the grass green and rendering the blue sky, when all I really needed to understand the scene was the underlying semantic embedding of the catch?
It's a very real possibility.
It makes you wonder if our own internal HD movies are just evolutionary bloatware.
A fun little bug in the system.
Definitely something to think about next time you close your eyes.